Time to light the match for the burning truth with Casey Hendrickson.
We have an update on PagerGate, ladies and gentlemen. Something we didn't learn until this afternoon. We're all focused on Hezbollah getting blowed up with pagers yesterday, with two-way radios today, that we missed another angle. Now, we kept telling everybody that Hezbollah, of course, is funded by Iran, and they are. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning into The Burning Truth. I'm your host, Casey Hendrickson. Don't forget, you can watch us live on Rumble. Go to rumble.com/Casey the host. You can also watch on your smart TV, on your smart device, and download that free Rumble app. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Would appreciate that. So Iran funds Hezbollah. Hezbollah, by the way, has deep ties to Central America. So while we were watching the Hezbollah terrorists get blowed up over the past 2 days, while we mentioned Iran, we forgot to look at Iran. I mean, if you fund Hezbollah, then I guess it would probably make sense that people in Iran would also be members of Hezbollah, right, Morgan? Yeah. I don't know why we didn't think about that. Well, 19 Revolutionary Guard Corps troops have been killed with the exploding pagers. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard is there. I'm air quoting the Iranian elite military unit. They are the ones that work with terrorist groups. And there's a Saudi news outlet, Al Hadith, which is saying all of this. 150 guardsmen were injured in the detonations, in addition to the 19 who were killed. Now, they're saying that they intercepted this on Iranian army radio. Thousands of people were wounded in pager explosions on Tuesday in Lebanon and Syria. Lebanon's public health minister stated. CBS News also reported on all of this. 12 people, including Hezbollah members and a pair of children who belong to Hezbollah members, were reportedly killed in the attack, which everybody's attributing to Israel, though Israel has not taken credit for. The alleged attack that used their own pager was the biggest security breach since the terrorist organization started to fire projectiles into Israel in 2023, according to a high-ranking Hezbollah commander. Now, if you are just joining us, in case you're one of these people going, Israel shouldn't be doing this, I would just like to ask you, where were you since October of last year and the at least 7,500 rockets that Hezbollah has fired into Israel, including the one that killed 12 Israeli children playing soccer in a park? Where were you? That's right. Shut your mouth. Including AOC, who's now, of course, blaming Israel for all of this. So now you've got not just Hezbollah, who has people dying, but you've got Iranian military personnel inside of their unit dying as well. So this has really been some good stuff. I mean, this is, honestly, great strategy. Just super awesome, super amazing, double thumbs up. I appreciate every single bit of it. All right, I have to, I've got to play this thing. So hold on a second. I just want to make sure it's all set and ready to go. Cue my audio, please. Okay, this is Tim Walz. I played this earlier and Morgan reacted, and I didn't give her any context. I just played it and she reacted to it. It was a visceral reaction that was unprompted. So this is Tim Walz. He's giving a little interview with a reporter. Just want you to listen to what Tim Walz has to say.
Inflation. Yeah. Let's start with inflation. What do you tell people who wake up, frankly, each morning wondering, how am I going to get by financially?
Yeah, I tell them, Kamala Harris and I know something about it, being middle-class folks. Our family sit at the table trying to pay the bill. We know.
Huh? Should we listen to that again? I feel like we should listen to that again, because I feel like there's some people. It's Wednesday, right? Wednesday, people are like in a fog. There was a lot of fog in the area this morning. Like, I feel like, people like maybe they didn't hear that.
Kamala Harris and I know something about it, being middle-class folks. Being middle-class folks. Our family sit at the table.
Do they? Are Kamala Harris and Tim Walz middle-class folks? Is that what they are? I know that Kamala Harris talked about growing up middle class and how people were proud of their lawns. Listen, I love people who are proud of their lawns. I like to be proud of my lawn. I don't have the time to actually be proud of my lawn. I wish that I could. But I do tend to see people who are wealthy really proud of their lawns. They pay good money to have somebody else do their lawns for them, Morgan, and they're very proud of it. So I don't know what she was talking about with the stupid lawn thing. I'm not denigrating you, by the way. I'm really not. I pay a guy to do my front lawn too, only because I didn't have the time to maintain the front lawn and then my mower broke. So middle class folks. Okay. Do you know what Kamala Harris's net worth is as a middle class folk? By the way, she grew up in a rich neighborhood. Just want you to know that. All of the people who grew up in the same neighborhood as her have been posting the neighborhood and talking about how it was a wealthy neighborhood. So I want to make that crystal clear. Kamala Harris did not grow up middle class. Okay, she may not have been rich, but she definitely grew up in an upper middle class to upper class neighborhood. She did not grow up in a middle class neighborhood. That did not happen. She is not one of you. You know how much Kamala Harris is worth, folks? Any ideas? Any guesses out there? How about you Democrats? Do you want to guess how much she's worth? Anyone? Anybody? If you said $8 million, you would be close. Because it's right around $8 million. Do you know that she lives in a $5 million house? When she's not in the government. $5 million house. How many of you live in a $5 million house? I'm willing to bet not a lot of you. Some probably do. I mean, I'm assuming there's a couple of $5 million houses out there in the audience, and I am, again, not at all denigrating you. I would like to live in a $5 million house one day. But this is egregiously false. Okay, Casey, what about Tim Walz? Well, Tim Walz makes $127,000 a year as his salary for governor, and he has $1 million in net worth. Okay, is $1 million $8 million? No, but is $1 million a lot? Yeah, it is. Do you know how much money you have to make to be top 5% income earner in the United States of America? $355,000. So Kamala Harris is top 5% with her earnings, and Tim Walz isn't. $127,000 isn't the richest person in the world. I understand that, but he has a net worth of $1 million. He's going to get a lot richer after this, no doubt about that. He had to temporarily move out of the governor's mansion in 2023, and he relocated to a lakeside mansion, which costs $17,000 a month. How many of you live in a $17,000 a month house? Can he relate to you? You might say, well, you know, he was in the military and everything else. Yeah, his rank was pretty nice pay, though. Okay, I mean, he got pretty good pay for that. I'm not going to tell you that he wasn't middle class his whole life, because I mean, the numbers seem to suggest that he was. So yeah, he could probably understand to a point, but Kamala Harris can't. Kamala Harris has never existed that way at all. She's always had means and wealth. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with somebody going out there and saying, listen, I have never, had to worry about where my food came from. My parents were always able to have that. And I'm proud that my parents made that, a possibility for me. And I can understand and empathize with people who don't have that right now. There's nothing wrong with saying something like that. But you don't need to go out there and say, oh, we're middle-class folks. We struggle to pay our bills too. Really? Do you struggle to pay your bills, Governor? Does Kamala Harris, with a net worth of $8 million, who lives in a $5 million house, does she struggle to pay her bills? There's something in here, too, that I missed. Okay. How much money, Morgan, has Kamala Harris made in her time in the White House? I'm gonna Google something while you have the Jeopardy music going. So vice president's salary. Okay. How much do you think that she's made since she's been vice president of the United States? Like, not going to guess anything.
For all 4 years, technically now?
Yep. All 4 years. How much has she made?
Maybe $500,000.
$500,000. Okay. So her salary is $235,100. Okay. That's what she gets in salary.
Per year?
Per year. Yep. That's her salary. Okay. Now there's additional perks and things like that, but that's her salary. She has made $1 million since 2021. She's made $1 million. Thanks to her decades in government and wealthy husband, Kamala Harris has built quite a nest egg, and she's only gotten richer since becoming vice president. Forbes estimates her net worth, along with the second gentleman, at about $8 million, up from $7 million in 2021. That's roughly 20 times the median net worth of Americans in their age bracket. Yeah, but she sits down at the table and struggles to figure out how to pay bills. That's what you're expected to believe. Now, here's the thing. I don't care that she's wealthy. I really don't. I don't care that Donald Trump is wealthy. Wealthy people can be good and bad, just like poor people can be good and bad, and middle-class people can be good and bad. I don't care about that. What irks me is that Tim Walz is a pathological liar who has lied about everything. How his children were conceived, his rank in the military, his experience in the military. He has lied about a whole host of other things involving his governorship of the state of Minnesota. And now he's sitting there telling you that, yeah, we're middle class. We're just like you guys. We can totally understand what's going on. You live in a $17,000 a month mansion on the lake. You have a net worth of $1 million. Now, you didn't always have that, and I can appreciate that. You guys have heard me kind of make fun of Sean Hannity over this a little bit, okay? I like Sean. Sean and I have always gotten along. But it's been a long time since Sean Hannity was a construction worker. Can we all agree on that? And Sean Hannity is ungodly rich. Kudos to him. So while he may remember in a faint, distant memory what it was like to struggle, Sean Hannity hasn't struggled in a very, very long time. And I don't think it's fair for him to go, I know what it's like because way back when. Maybe you can remember, I suppose, but you haven't lived in that moment in a very long time. So I think it falls on deaf ears for people who have. And for Tim Walz to sit there and tell you that Kamala Harris is middle class, that's just somebody who will lie to you and do whatever it takes to win. Got more coming up. You're tuned into The Burning Truth. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning into The Burning Truth. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. I promise I'm going to give you some positive news a little bit later today as well. It will happen. Hey, the Indy Star, your resident toilet paper supply, is asking you if the church that Lieutenant Governor candidate Micah Beckwith leads it's a voting spot. And they're asking if that's problematic. The answer to that is no. No, it is not problematic, and you're being stupid, so stop. Absolutely not problematic. Good Lord. Middle class. I'm still... What did you say? That one peed me off, not gonna lie. Is that... Yeah, we're middle class. No, you're not. And it's okay that you're not. For the love of God, just say, you know what? I was middle class. Now I'm not. Kamala's never been middle class, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But they refuse. They refuse to do that stuff. I mean, folks, if they'll lie to you over little things like that, and he'll continue to lie to you even after being called out for many, 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 many years, then over his military record, then what else would they lie to you about? Like their entire platform, maybe? I noticed that California has kind of taken on the topic of the half hour on the live stream on Rumble, which is interesting. And Gavin Newsom has decided that he's going to ban in California. He says, I just signed a bill to make it illegal in the state of California. You can no longer knowingly distribute an ad or other election communication that contains materially deceptive content, including deepfakes. Well, that's interesting. Now, some are arguing that this is a free speech issue. All right. And we've had that certainly happen in Indiana, where we had some allegations of ads being deepfakes and AI, and led to some bitter fights in the primaries and things of that nature. And while there is certainly a case to be made that, hey, I didn't say those things, you can't fabricate that I did, that's not right, you're taking my likeness and deceiving people, I think that that's a fair case to make. The other case is, free speech, that sort of thing. So this is a battle that has to be kind of waged legislatively over the course of the near future, because AI is getting way more difficult to be able to spot. And you probably don't care much about it until you're the victim of it. And when you're the victim of it, then I would assume that would be pretty egregious. But California decided to go ahead and do this. Now, what I find interesting about that is, if California is going to ban this type of political ad, then one of the questions that a lot of people have been asking, particularly of California, is if Kamala Harris's campaign should be banned in the state of California, because their campaign has repeatedly, the Kamala HQ Twitter account in particular, X account, has repeatedly deceived people with misleading edits, fake captions, and AI content. So, did Gavin Newsom think that one through? Now, what about, let me ask you this. If you cannot, based on Gavin Newsom, you can no longer knowingly distribute an ad or other election communication that contains materially deceptive content, including deepfakes. So it's not just about AI. Well, when you have people talking about the Very Fine People hoax, Russia collusion, that sort of thing, do we get to then punish them? What about when you lie and say that Project 2025 is Trump's, or Republicans are trying to ban IVF? Will you hold them accountable too, Gavin? Or did you not think that one through? Got more coming up. You're tuned in to The Burning Truth.
The Burning Truth with Casey Hendrickson.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to The Burning Truth. I'm your host, Casey Hendrickson. Well, an investigation is underway after a student brought a gun to school. Fort Wayne Community Schools reported earlier today that a gun was brought into the AMP lab at Electric Works School. Officers in the Fort Wayne Police Department were called to the school, and this is a little bit after noon. They confirmed a 16-year-old boy entered school grounds with a gun in his book bag. They say that they were able to confiscate the bag and the gun without any incident. Nobody was injured. So they're continuing to investigate. The teen has been charged with possession of a firearm on school grounds. So as soon as we learn some additional details, we will pass those on to all of you. And the Teamsters thing got brought up. Somebody's asking me about the Teamsters thing. And I told them that I would get to it today. I might as well just do it now since it's on, top of mind here. So the Teamsters have now said that they are not going to endorse anybody for president. And this is atypical for them. And what they tried to say is that, hey, we don't have, any kind of broad support for any candidate. The problem with that is, you know what, I'll go over their letter. The General Executive Board of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters on Wednesday elected not to endorse any candidate for U.S. president after reviewing 6 months of nationwide member polling and wrapping up nearly a year of rank-and-file roundtable interviews with all major candidates for the presidency. The union was left with few commitments on top Teamster issues from either former President Donald Trump or Vice President Kamala Harris, and found no definitive support among members for either party's nominee. No definitive support, no definitive support, no definitive support. Remember that one, Morgan. No definitive support. Okay. What is definitive support? What would that look like to any of you? If you had a body of people, what percentage of support would that body of people have to get to be definitive support? I think a lot of people would probably say a majority. Maybe a simple majority. Maybe a little bit further. It just depends. In data publicly released earlier in the day, former Vice President Joe Biden won the support of Teamsters voting in straw polls at local unions between April through July prior to his exit from the race. But in independent electronic and phone polling from July to September, a majority of voting members twice selected Trump for a possible Teamsters endorsement over Harris. Oh. The union's extensive member polling showed no majority support for Vice President Harris and no universal support among the membership for Trump. Oh, is it universal now, Morgan? When was the last time that the Teamsters had universal support for somebody? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm willing to bet it's never. How do you have an organization that size and have universal support for one candidate? Our mission as union representatives is clear: to be honest and upfront. Really? To be inclusive and, above all, to be transparent with our membership. As the strongest and most democratic labor union in America, it was vital for our members to drive this endorsement process. Democrats, Republicans, and independents proudly call our union home, and we have a duty to represent and respect every one of them. We strongly encourage all of our members to vote in the upcoming election. Oh, okay. So let me tell you, not only has Trump won the majority of support from the Teamsters union twice, it's 58-31. 58% of the Teamsters union supports Trump. Now, I don't think that they have ever had, and maybe I'm wrong, okay, I'm willing to say that there's a 1% offshoot chance that I'm wrong, but I do not believe for a second that the Teamsters Union has ever had 100% of their membership support one candidate. So when the Teamsters Union goes out there and tells you, like, we have a duty to represent all of our people, then wouldn't that mean you wouldn't endorse anybody, since some of your people are going to obviously endorse the candidate that you don't endorse? Wouldn't that make sense? But nonetheless, you haven't. So let's just go back in time, shall we? Let's just go back in time. Let's go to 2016, okay? And let's take a look at how the Teamsters donated in 2016. 78.4% of their donations went to Democrats. 20.48% went to Republicans. So, okay. Well, that's what. Wait, that says 2024. Hold on. Let me go back to 2016. I moved to 2016. In 2016, it was 92.21% went to Democrats. So over 92% in 2016 went to Democrats. You move forward, almost 95% went to Democrats in 2018. You go to 2020, over 96% went to Democrats. Then you go to 2022, and it's over 97% went to Democrats. And then suddenly in 2024, it's 78.4% went to Democrats. So the Teamsters Union has spent its, existence supporting and propping up Democrats while ignoring the membership that didn't support the Democratic candidate. It's one of the reasons that a lot of the right to work fights actually happened, because unions across the country were taking union dues and they were illegally using them for campaign contributions. And we covered that extensively when that fight was happening years ago. So the Teamsters Union gets to a point here where Donald Trump, whose record of supporting, union labor is actually really, really high. It was actually a point of consternation in 2016 with Republicans who don't like unions in particular because of the way that the union operates, not because of the membership. But we're at a point now where the Teamsters Union has run multiple polls. Trump wins every one of those polls. Trump has a 58% to 31 majority support in the Teamsters membership. And the Teamsters Union miraculously, magically decides that they're not going to endorse anybody under the guise of making sure that they represent all of their members for the first time? Really? A lot of people are responding to this and pointing out that they're cowards. There was a poll that had Trump at 59.6%. Then they had another one that was Trump at 58%. So really what we're talking about here is the Teamsters Union will help with an endorsement when they can go ahead and silence their Republican members, or at least the members who support a Republican candidate. It's not fair to call them all Republicans. But the moment that support shifts to a Republican, they won't do any endorsements because that would anger their membership too much, right? So when Biden was still in, it was 44.3 Biden, 36.3 Trump, 5.6 RFK, 1.7 Cornel West. Now, do you think for a second the Teamsters Union would have hesitated to endorse Joe Biden at that 44 to 36 mark? Of course they wouldn't have. And that is a smaller margin than any of Trump's polling victories over Kamala Harris. They would have absolutely endorsed Joe Biden, would have said, oh yeah, most of our members support Joe Biden. Yeah, I think that those of you out there calling the Teamsters Union cowards here, I think that you are dead onto something. They don't want to do an endorsement because they know a majority of their membership supports somebody that they don't support. But they will continue to donate to Democrats. That is what they will do. They're doing so less right now than they have in all previous elections. I'll give them that. But it's still a 3/4 majority going to Democrats this election cycle. And I have no doubt that that number will increase. But yeah. When we talk about unions, folks, I'm not talking about you. Not talking about the rank and file for those of you who are members. I am talking about this type of shenanigan where they go out there, they take your money, they support candidates that you don't support. They force people to pay fees who don't want to pay fees. They force people to be members who don't want to be members. They force people to be unemployed if they don't acquiesce and join. And they bully people. This is a spit in the face of every one of you Teamster Union members. You all know it. I know it. Everybody listening to this show knows it. Got more coming up. You're tuned into The Burning Truth. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to The Burning Truth. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. Coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, I am going to tell you about a brand new database that has been created and put online where you can see how your neighbors vote, and they can see how you vote as well. And yes, that includes by party. So very concerning to a lot of folks, no doubt about that. Arizona has found 100,000 voters lacking citizenship proof. Well, isn't that interesting? In Arizona, voters need to provide documentary proof of citizenship to register to vote in statewide elections. Those who do not provide proof are registered as federal only, which allows them to cast a ballot only in federal elections. Wait a minute. Who do not provide proof are registered as federal. That's backwards. That's got to be backwards, right? The state says that it discovered 100,000 voters on the rolls who did not provide documentary proof of citizenship when registering to vote, but were nonetheless tagged as eligible to vote in both state and federal elections. I think there might be a mistake in this article. God, I hope so. Some states allow people who are non-citizens to vote in local elections. It is a crime for you to be a non-citizen and vote in federal elections. So I'm assuming that this is a typo. Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Ricker flagged an erroneous voter registration record to Democrat Governor Katie Hobbs on September 7th. The green card holder who, as a non-citizen, is legally prohibited from voting had ended up on the voter rolls as a full ballot voter. The state ultimately found approximately 97,000 voters who are currently listed as full ballot voters despite having not fulfilled the requirements to provide documentary proof of citizenship to vote in statewide elections. So, okay, I don't understand. This is weird. They keep talking about the statewide election thing. Okay, I'm really concerned with Arizona, and because this article is being written as if you don't provide proof of citizenship, you can vote in a federal election, but you cannot vote in the state elections. However, that is typically backwards. You're not supposed to be allowed to vote in a federal election, but you can vote in certain state elections if the state allows it. So this is the theme, though, throughout the entire article, is that you have to be a citizen to vote in the state election, but you don't have to be to vote in the federal election. I'm hoping that this is just a really poorly written article and that this is backwards, or I have to dive into Arizona a little bit more, because that is way off. Hobbs says that her team has identified and fixed an administrative error that originated in 2004 and affects longtime residents. Well, I mean, you were told allowing people to be able to vote in some stuff but not be able to vote in other stuff would naturally lead to these types of mistakes happening, and that appears to be the case. But now I have to spend some time diving into Arizona politics, which I haven't done in an extended period of time because that whole article freaks me out a little bit. The House is expected today to take up another continuing resolution that would fully fund the federal government for another 6 months, but the spending bill, as Speaker Johnson promised, includes a provision that requires anyone registering to vote in federal elections to provide documented proof of citizenship. As it stands, if Republicans don't develop a recurring case of the weak knees, this is being written at the Federalist, Democrats will have to decide whether they want to avert a government shutdown by the end of the month or whether they want to continue to stand by as foreign nationals vote in U.S. elections. Polls show a solid majority of Americans support citizen-only voting. A strong majority also support deportations in the latest poll that came out today. A new report from the Foundation for Government Accountability, exclusively provided to the Federalist, breaks down the integrity cracks in the U.S. election system and urges Congress to pass the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or the SAVE Act, and states to clean up their voter rolls. The problem's only magnified by an unprecedented 10 million U.S. border encounters with illegal aliens in the nearly 4 years that Biden and Harris have been in office. So what the report says, there is at least 25 million non-citizens in the country, according to the Census Bureau. Now, again, that's a minimum, okay? There's no federal enforcement mechanism to ensure that their names do not appear on the voter rolls. And that is, again, according to the group. Right now, the Biden-Harris administration is using welfare offices, DMVs, public housing, healthcare.gov, and more to register voters, and they are not verifying citizenship at these locations. States can act too, but the SAVE Act is the only thing that can fix this problem nationwide. So now the Democrats keep telling you that we don't need this because it's already illegal for you to vote in a federal election, but Arizona might disagree with that. More coming up.
Podcasts by Federated Media.